So I have my base coat brush now, and I've done one coat of the cream base Fashenhues base coat. And I'm going to do one coat of the white. And the reason why, I think I've said this on some other videos, we send it out with all of our orders when you order from us, is you do at least a base coat of cream, because the ceramic bisque itself starts out white. There we go, you can see it starts out white. So if you do in cream, then you can see that you've painted everywhere. I'm sorry about the glare. I gotta figure out the best way to position that. And like, probably can't see it on the screen, but I've missed right there. It's a spot of white glaring at me. And there's some spots down in here that I've missed with the cream. A spot there. It's not a big deal, but the thing is ceramic bisque is such a thirsty, porous medium that if you were to start with your colors right away, it would grab those colors and suck them into place, and then you can't blend, and you end up with a splotchy mess of color and a project that you are just hating and you think there's no saving it. Cool thing is there is saving it, because there's no wrong way to art, but if you don't like it, then that's a whole different ball game. So then the reason you start painting with, you do a coat of the white, is so that you can get those spots that you missed, hopefully, and it gets it back to its quote-unquote virgin color. And missing cream under white really stands out, even more so than white under cream, at least in my experience. So for those of you who do paint your own pieces already, what are your favorite starting techniques? Do you just start with color? Do you base coat? Do you like to base coat in black? A lot of people do. Usually people that do the dry brushing method. That thought didn't want to come to my head. But how do you prefer to start your project? Answer that in the comments. Yep, I'm doing a lot of talking because my thoughts are already loud with how quiet everything is. Do you guys have that problem? Do you find your thoughts getting too loud and ringing in your ears if you're in too quiet of a space? You want to work your colors, your base coats into the nooks and crannies, but you don't want to fill them. You want to be able to still see that detail. So it's a fine line of painting into the nooks and crannies, but still leaving them with definition. I feel sorry for anybody who sits to watch this on replay. There's going to be a lot of this that you'll just want to fast forward through. And that's okay. I don't mind people fast forwarding through my ramblings. It doesn't hurt my feelings, mostly because I don't know you've done it. But it seriously does not hurt my feelings if you're like, I just want to get to the part where you're doing the color or whatever. Now, the good thing about acrylics or Fashenhues or whatever is it tends to dry pretty quickly, so you don't have to wait too long between coats. But you do want to make sure it's good and dry, especially these two steps between. You want to have them good and dry between these, the cream base coat and the white base coat, because you don't want to smear them into each other, and it helps you make sure that you get all the little nooks and crannies. And then the other thing is you don't want fingerprints in your work as much as you can help it. And if you can see, I'm just using plain old paper plate. It's a small one. The paper plate is it's my paint palette if I'm not going to use my paper. And I'm not using my paper because I cannot find my freezer paper, and parchment paper gets too wet. There's this new I don't know how new it is. It's new to me. It's a new technique of a paint palette called a wet palette. It helps keep your colors, like when you put them out on your palette, they tend to get dried up. And the wet palette is like this little reservoir, easy for me to say, little reservoir of water on a sponge with a piece of paper over the top. And a lot of people will make their own wet palette with using parchment paper, because the parchment paper will absorb the water to a certain extent without it getting puddly. Puddly? Piddly, whatever. Okay, so I have him painted in the white. Now, while he's drying, I'm going to base coat the horse in the white, and the horse I am not going to paint today. Well, at least not on this video. You gotta make sure you get into all those nooks and crannies. And don't leave big old globs behind. You'll hate life. And if you do this with the cream and the white, you'll always feel like you go through more cream than you do white. And the reason why is because, again, ceramic bisque is porous and it will suck in the color. So it is sucking in that cream base. And then because you have the cream base on, it doesn't suck the white in. I'm forgetting not to grab in the wet area. So I'm just going to kind of go back over where I just touched so that I can make sure I don't have fingerprints. I let it glob dry. I'm not pouring out as much white each time because I'm getting close to the end and I won't be needing the white base coat anymore. Okay. Oh. There we go. It's always a fun little exercise to try to get your hand out of there without getting your fingerprints everywhere. Now with Fashenhues, you want to have your colors at the ready. You want to have paper towels at the ready, lots of paper towels, or cotton cloths. And for cotton cloths, you can cut up old t-shirts. Use the parts that don't have any designs on them. Which I do have a lot of those, and I'm thinking I might give that a try today instead of using paper towels. But I learned with paper towels, so I'm probably going to stick with paper towels. I'm a creature of habit a lot of times. Okay, I suppose I should show you like all the real steps. This is the antiquing solution, and I've put a different cap on it because I don't like the cap that comes on it. It kind of, I don't know, it makes it difficult for it to pour out or to control how much you pour out, and you only need just a little bit. The antiquing solution, from what I understand, when you put it on a base coated piece, it will show you where you've missed, because it'll kind of turn like a rusty color as it reacts to the bisque. So I'm going to kind of show you down here on the bottom. Let me get my hand in a better position. Okay, hopefully you can see it. Okay, so starting out with the white, no, I'm not going to be able to show you. Oh, there we go. See that kind of rusty looking mess right there? Right there? That's what will show up here if you've missed anything. The other thing is this conditions. Of course, now I've got some color on my brush from doing it down there. Okay, let's try this again. But it also conditions your piece to accept the colors and to let the colors, yeah, I'm gonna have to switch my plate because I know I haven't missed this big of an area. Alright, let's try this again. Obviously, I'm not a pro. But I'm not afraid to get in there and try. And you know what? This might be happening because it's too wet and I haven't changed my brush either. I'm trying to rush. I want to get this done. So when you're doing this on your piece and you haven't done a little test thing on the bottom, on the bare bisque, you will go over. If you find that rust color happening, you'll let it dry, and then you will paint some base coat over it, whatever color you prefer to use at that moment, the white or the cream, and then you'll be ready to paint your project. But you do this all over because it conditions the piece for you. Your colors will glide on more smoothly. So there's kind of 3 steps of getting ready for Fashenhues. Yes, you can skip this step. You can still work with Fashenhues without the antiquing solution being on your piece. You still get a beautiful result. But I do have to say, I do prefer how the colors glide when you've used the antiquing solution on the product before, or on your piece, before you start to use the paints. And you don't have to be too liberal with it. You don't have to leave it shining and wet. And none of this has a really strong odor, but there is a slight odor to it to where you can tell that it is something different than what you would buy at a craft store or whatnot. Go put out just a little bit more. See if I had missed anything in this little nook right here, this little knob where a branch would have supposedly broken off from the wood, that would have turned that rust color. And typically it's in those kind of spots where I find myself missing, having gotten my base coat. So a lot of times if I'm unsure, I'll just check those kind of areas real quick and then move on. And I'm not going to antique the horse head yet, because I won't be painting the horse head today, and I like my antiquing to be fresh when I first start to work with color. So I'm just going to let that dry for a little bit. While that's drying, I'm going to pick my colors that I'm going to want to use for the wolf. And I use these handy Surefresh containers from the Dollar Tree. They are tall enough to fit these standard Fashenhues bottles in, but also the 2-ounce Fashenhues bottles. There you go. And it also fits the, I forgot how much, there are different size bottle altogether for the metallics and the pearls. They also fit those just fine, and you can close them up. They stay closed pretty well. You can flip them over and see all your colors. Now the wolf, I'm going to need some browns, I'm going to need some grays, and some whites. So I'm probably going to antique in, I don't know, maybe the big brown, or maybe that brown right there. And if you don't have your numbers memorized, because, you know, I don't, it helps you find. That's maroon. Maybe that's not the one. Maybe that was the one. Oh, no, this one. Black currant. That might have been. Yeah, black currant. I might do my overall antique in the black currant. I'll have to think about that. But if not, most likely the brown or the red brown. Definitely not cayenne pepper. I'm gonna need black. The cayenne pepper, I might use that for the mouth. We'll see. I'm going to need some gray. Charcoal. Maybe. Charcoal, I feel like it has a little bit too much of a bluish tint to it sometimes. Mediterranean. Mediterranean is a color that a lot of people will do their base coat into. I mean, not base coat, the antiquing coat. The overall color that you give to your piece before you start with color. Magenta. We definitely don't need magenta. I'll probably leave the Mediterranean out. I'm going to need to leave the caramel out. I've already got my brown out. Might do some highlighting in flesh. And then I need a nice kind of gold color for the eye, so that'll probably be mustard. Because I don't want to do yellow. Yellow is too yellow. Gonna need white. And the numbers you see, for anybody who doesn't know Fashenhues, the numbers that you see on the lids, I've written with Sharpie marker because they are the number of the color. So like this golden yellow, I have a hard time getting, well, that's not the best, but there's a color, the color is S39, so I put a 39 on the top of the on the top of the lid, so I can see that I have color number 39. Not that I have my numbers memorized, But when I like run out, like my Mediterranean, where did it go? My Mediterranean number 23, that's getting low in this bottle because I use it a lot, but I can look and see if I have another 23 in my other colors or the ones that I have as my refills. Like I have number 38 here. Well, I also have another 38 over here in my other box, and that's a pink. I don't know how I ended up with two pinks because I don't often paint with pink. I need to see what that color is. 3 in from this side, number 23. Okay, that is the Mediterranean. So I have another Mediterranean. So it's not quite dry enough to start. So I think I'm going to stop this video here